I'd like to talk about that. I think the future of augmented reality is going to be boring. So today's about business, and I'd like to talk about that. I think the future of augmented reality is going to be boring. I'll make my point slowly, based on the lessons and insights we gained the last year. First off, geo is really cool. We did some great stuff with geo-based augmented reality the last year. But the challenge is it's the scarcity. I mean, you have to be in Berlin, at the wall, open up the application to experience such a great experience. If you're in Nevada, somewhere in the boonies, you can't do anything. You can open up your browser, but you won't see anything. So geo is a great idea, but you need to do something else too to really get a ubiquitous experience. Another thing we learned is that 3D is great and animation is great, but it's also very complex to make. People need a lot of specialist knowledge to do it. And not only that, once they have something, the user, they don't really know what to do always because it's so complex to create a 3D environment, for instance, in this room, and do something knowledgeable and that you understand with it. That's very difficult. Another insight, and this is more of a positive note, is that augmented reality liberates space. You might remember the Space Liberation Front last year. We saw one of our artists, for instance, Sander van der Veen, he created the break-in, basically, of MoMA through augmented reality, where they hung up their own art using layer without MoMA knowing about it. And what he showed is that with augmented reality, you can do anything to space. Just like information was freed by the web, you can publish yourself anything you want right now if you want, and anybody can read it. I mean, that's different from when Gutenberg was there. Now with space, you can do the same thing. You can create anything you want in this room right now using augmented reality. I can have you all wear mustaches if I want to. I can make the room blue. That has never been able, you couldn't do that before. So that, we think, is really exciting. It's an opportunity. A challenge, again, is that augmented reality needs a lot of infrastructure. First, you need your phone. Then you need a trigger. Hey, there's something to do here. Then you need to open up the app. Then you need a connection. Then you need to have friends who say, oh, yeah, sure, you go and then hold your phone up like that for a while. You know, you need a social context. That's good. And that infrastructure is not always there. So we're really happy that we found somewhere where it is always there. And that's with magazines. Magazines provide a really good infrastructure. Magazines are mostly about things. They generate desire. So that's a great trigger to start an augmented reality experience. Magazines are also basically a medium that has not gone digital yet. Yes, they have some apps, but there's no real big numbers yet. And if you think about it, magazines are also not even visible yet. Print is not visible on the web yet. 1 million or so, I don't know how many subscribers there are to the New York Times, but you do not see on the web that they all open it up in the morning, all the readers. You see some other stuff, but not that. The activity of reading that newspaper is not being tracked online. So we think that augmented reality on print, on magazines and newspapers is a great opportunity. And we've been talking a lot to them and doing a lot of projects recently, and they are eager for something new. And augmented reality can help them connect to the digital world, to the dynamic world of the digital world. And it also keeps respecting basically the art and publishing of paper. Let me give you 2 examples of projects we did. Over the last year and a half, we really focused on publishing, trying to learn what makes it tick. How can we get augmented reality to work in this great environment? That's our first example. Linda was the first case we did. It was already in December. They didn't have triggers yet on the page themselves. We still got great numbers. And it really proved to us that magazines are a great infrastructure, like I said before. Because magazines, they are about all this desire that you cannot or could not act upon until now. And when you read a magazine, you have a moment to yourself. You have your phone with you, your home, you have your Wi-Fi. So that, again, is why it's a good infrastructure. Also, what we proved with Linda is that buttons work. Buttons are, instead of a 3D difficult experience, just a simple button saying what you can do on top of that page. Buy this boot, vote for this guy, do this, do that. And that's, yeah, really what works. And this is a project which was done just last month, which does a similar thing. Spoken is by. So the cool thing with ARE2012 is that they had a whole mobile site around that catalog where you could buy all the products. It's still running, so we don't have the numbers yet, but it's looking good. Here's some first results that we have of all the campaigns and projects we've been running the last 6 months and what we've learned. What's very important that there needs to be a good relationship with the object. We ran a campaign with a comic book, which really had a lot of fans, and when you used AR on top of it, or used layer on top of it, you could see the sketches of the original artwork that, you know, was underneath, literally, the comic book. People loved that, and we had amazing usage of that layer. Yet, we also did some direct marketing campaigns, and there the conversion was much lower, and the usage was much lower. So the more there is a relationship, the more people like your magazine or your print, the more, of course, you will get an effect. Also very important is to have clear instructions and well-placed triggers. We advise people to have a why, shop now with layer, use a logo so people will understand it. This is a trigger example. And then in another place, explain to people that they need to download the app. In short, of course, this is only for us humans. The computer does not need this trigger. It just recognizes the whole page or part of the page. Like I said before, buttons work, just simple call to actions that people can understand so that they can link to the digital experience. And we see 3 core use cases coming back the whole time. It's about more content, video, augmented video, YouTube video, polls, slideshows, just an article on another article on the web, people like that. Social interaction, sharing, liking and such, and of course commerce, buying something directly. And again, I think that's really hot. I mean, just you get the impulse and boom, you can buy it. And I already saw 2 companies now have a role of an AR editor now. That there's one person full-time augmenting the pages continuously, gathering all the content throughout the organization and then putting it in a layer in augmented reality. So in short, about the future of augmented reality is boring. It's as boring as a computer in your hotel room door. It just works and you don't even know that you're using it, and that's what augmented reality is going to be. Magazines is where it's going to start. Millions of people will start using it there and experiencing smart and easy to understand buttons. And I think that's where the money's going to be made. You might ask, now what about the liberation of space? So let me add something to that. Inspired by the street art, last year I went to LA to the big street art show. Inspired by artists like Candy Chang and Sander, I talked before. Candy makes stickers which says, I wish this was, and you can put it on something and then you write with your hand on it, repaired or whatever you want, and so you can comment on objects. Well, inspired by this, we released Stick To in a beta, and we've been creating that in several iterations and perfecting that. If you are on Android, it's now available in this, for everybody in the world, www.stick2.com, ARE2012. It's not available in general in the market yet because we really want to have it done until we make it available to everybody, but of course you guys can do it. I wanted to do iPhone, but of course you can't just pre-release something quickly there, so too bad. So Stick2, and again, a short video of what it is. So Stick2, we're seeing that people are doing what we thought they would, and that is augmenting stuff on the street. Literally, they're changing buildings. Here beneath you see somebody made a little rabbit out of a building, changing the artwork on the walls. People are changing brands. Here, this is a World Wildlife Fund. Follow me from Twitter. So people are liberating all these assets that are guarded so preciously. And I think if you talk opportunity, yes, magazines where the money is, but this is another thing. I don't know what's going to happen here. But people are doing stuff. They're expressing themselves on art. They're creating their own version of it. And yeah, it's growing. And we built an ecosystem now that really is working in the app where people, you do have to register, but then you can follow each other, you can see each other, and it's about all the content that you can share with each other. And like I said, it's working. So if you can, and if you want, download it for Android only. And in short, also, companies are starting to use it. There's a company, Boomerang in Holland, which distributes postcards. And you can, yeah, there's for branding purposes, and yeah, they invite people to augment their postcards. They have literally almost empty ones that you can then enrich yourself. Or another company that asks people to augment the posters that they have in the window on the street. So it's growing and it's working. So in conclusion, augmented reality is boring, but yeah, that's how the money's going to be made, because magazines is where it will start. I think the space liberation part will add some nice spice to it when that really gets rolling. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, before we're going to take audience questions now, but I want to ask you a couple of things really quick myself. You say you see it starting with magazines, but isn't that kind of limited in terms of like media that's going digital? How long do you see that kind of being the vehicle?
There's a lot of graphs of digital media going through the roof, but nobody pays attention to the bottom, and that is that paper print is still there. Relatively, it's not being pushed down that much by all this digital expenditure. And of course, people presume that the book is dead. People presume there will be a digital or a pure digital office, but we still print stuff. We still read paper books. And so in that sense, I don't think it's going to go as quick as people expect it to go. Maybe even not at all, because I still read magazines, and lots of people that I know read magazines. And it's still a medium that's already HD, has a good business model. It's not as easy as it was for them, but it still works. And a lot of people like it. So I think it's kind of unfair almost, if you look at it, like Pinterest and all those other things, get so much attention when people do not talk about how great magazines are. And I believe that magazines are great.
Oh, I'm a magazine junkie myself, but I'm seeing more in terms of like look at how I mean the Kindle just took over book sales. I mean it's the #1, you know.
But that's books. I think books are different because it's all text. Text is really easy to manage and produce, not write but produce, and as in make a book out of it. And magazines are different in that sense. There is no, like I said, magazines have not gone digital yet, and I think through AR they can.
Very well. And what about how do you see that translating from print magazines into other media channels, say like third screen experience and with broadcast or something like that?
Well, TV in theory could be a great context environment, infrastructure as I call it, because you're sitting at home, you have your Wi-Fi, you have your phone, you have a reason to interact if there's the voice on and you want to do something. But then I haven't seen the use cases there yet. Why do you want to hold your phone over the TV when there's already something there? Is it really better? Is it really necessary? I mean, there's good second screen apps that I think are very valuable, but augmented reality in that role, I have not seen the use case yet.
Any other questions from the audience?
What type of fees are you charging to being an
We are currently in beta, so we have not announced a price yet, but we will do soon, and we're going to go very low. We want to keep it as simple as possible and as cheap as possible.
Was there a Facebook integration I saw there? You could see posts from friends and like stuff, or is that just a paradigm you're...
You can like an article and share stuff share an article on Twitter or on our Facebook and stuff. So yeah, it's integrated. You cannot like something because the Facebook API doesn't allow that. You first have to log in yourself, and you can't do it very easily. But sharing is very easy to do. Google Glasses is great if you want to interact with your friends. And if you want a market that doesn't exist yet, because nobody has glasses. Everybody has phones, and so that market exists. And what I understand with Google Glasses, it's more about interaction with friends than actually using vision recognition to recognize things. It's more of a geo thing, and yeah, I haven't really seen that much of it yet. Yes?
whether it's an early adapter or some of the examples that you showed by Google Print publications, what have you found is the best trigger or call to action for users to know that it even exists?
We provide, just put a simple logo on there on every page. I won't get it out. But just on every page you have a logo. Actually, I didn't even share the numbers, but we get a conversion rate between 1 and over 10% of the magazine target group actually converting into an AR user over all our projects. Also, if you look at the buttons, we have a click-through rate of over 25% on average. So if people scan it, and there are buttons, 1 in 4 actually clicks. So if you compare that to banners and all that kind of stuff, it's amazing.
Fantastic.
So those numbers were really, I mean, that's, yeah.
But again, a simple logo without instructions. Let's say
No.
someone wasn't familiar with
You have to spell it out.
You have to spell it.
Spell it out. The best things, I mean, also what we learned is, you can put the logo on the side or on the top of the page. Best is to do it near the photos. The photos is mostly what you augment and enrich, so that's what people should scan. And if you put it in the corner there, they try to do the corner because they don't know what they're doing. It's like me explaining to you email when you just bought your fax in '92. You don't know yet. So that helps.
Anyone else?
Cool.
This one? This is Matt, I'm